And for me, my story is a sustaining story. So every day I wake up, I'm relying on God to get me from when I wake up to when I go to bed. And I get to lean on him.
Rewrite. New life, new beginning. Hey, I'm Jonathan Unthank. Welcome to another edition of the Rewrite Podcast. And joining me this week, it's Peter Burton. Man, it is so good to meet you finally, and of course, get a chance to talk to you today.
Oh, likewise, Jonathan. So stoked to be here with you guys and to be on the podcast. What an honor.
That's
Seriously, so
cool.
cool.
Man, it's an honor as well just to hang and talk to you about your faith in Jesus, how you came to know Jesus, your story. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself first of all, and then we'll kind of dig into your story a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So I'm born and raised here out on the West Coast in Northern California. So right now I'm in Sacramento with my family, and I've got an amazing wife. We've been married for about 10 years. This month, June 19th, was when we 10 years ago tied the knot, which is amazing. Her name's Allie, and we've got two little girls, Savannah and Summer. And so hopefully they're at swim lessons right now. So my 3-year-old's learning to swim. And so the house is empty. So it's quiet right now. But if all of a sudden in the middle of this, there's like chaos happening and you hear all these loud noises, just
Totally.
know, just know it's this toddler and an 11-month-old just, being sisters doing their thing. So
Exactly.
honestly, I say like, yeah, I'm a worship leader out here. I've been a worship pastor for 15 years at a church out here called Bayside Church, and I've done all kinds of stuff in the music world, from touring with a guy named Lincoln Brewster, who's a big mentor of mine. Spent a lot of years on the road with him. Helped launch a band called Thrive Worship, and now I am full-time girl dad and husband. Those are my two biggest, most important hats I wear. And then yeah, I'm an artist. I've got a solo artistry going on now, and I'm still a worship pastor at my local church. And life is very full, very fun, very busy, but I'm so thankful to get to do what I get to do. So
Totally.
yeah, that's a super
Mhm.
cliff note version of my life right now. One moment I'm, you know, singing Frozen songs with my 3-year-old, and the next moment I'm helping pastor the local church, and the next moment I'm, writing songs in Nashville and doing all the things, and it's just a wild world. So I'm
That's so
super
good.
grateful,
So
man.
so good. But it
Yeah.
sounds like, man, just a full life of ministry, and just
Yeah,
how the
totally.
Lord's opened up those doors of opportunity and
Yeah.
sharing your faith through music. So tell us a little bit about your story of how you came to faith in Jesus. I know everyone has like their unique angle and just
Yeah, for
story.
sure. Yeah, I think so I was really privileged to grow up in a really awesome Christian home. And so my mom and dad, who still live about 40 minutes from me right now, amazing faith, prayer warriors, incredible. I had an incredible childhood and all that. And so I grew up in the local church, but you know, um I I was definitely I'm a pretty big prodigal minded person. And so through kind of my years of growing up, I think God used the gift of music to actually keep me close to him. Because as I got out of adolescence and all that and into high school and stuff, I loved music. I just loved playing music. I was in all kinds of crazy bands. I was in metal bands and rock bands and all these things. But I was always playing in the local church because it was every week I had an opportunity to play live somewhere. And so, whether or not it was for the right intentions or not, I was playing music in the church since I was about 12 years old every weekend and then midweek. And so there kind of became this point in my life where I had to kind of decide like, hey, is my faith going to be mine and not my family's? And so what kind of happened was a big part of my testimony is obviously music keeping me close to Jesus, and I see that now looking back. But the biggest part of my faith testimony that's made my faith real and alive and active today and my own is this story that I'll tell. And so basically, like, I've struggled with mental health my entire life. Since I was really young, about 10 years old, I had a lot of anxiety issues with fear and panic and all kinds of things. And to the point where, from a young age, I was in counseling and therapy and different things. And that's just been a battle of mine and how my brain's been wired, and I've had to work through that. And so the challenge of the mental health thing with me, um, paralleling my life and trying to follow Jesus and figure out this faith thing was really interesting because I got really, I guess you could say, like, everything was kind of under control from probably, like, 15 years old to 30 years old. Um, but when I became an adult, had a life, family, kids, all that, I had this massive mental breakdown in my life, back in 2019, actually. And to be super vulnerable and honest about this, like, I don't fully understand why it happened then or why, but I see purpose in it now. So basically, this was a time in my life where music was starting to really take off for me. I was, a part of record deals, signing, publishing. I was doing stuff. I was traveling around the country, and I had more anxiety and fear and panic things that was just wrecking my life to the point to where it got almost debilitating. And I remember being like, okay, if God is real and he loves me, and I've been trying to be a worship leader and serve him in music, and I've grown up with this faith and knowing Jesus and all these things, it was this very real moment for me where I went, why would I have to struggle so hard mentally controlling this if he's such a good God, right? And it was kind of a scary season where I feel like that was when I actually started to go, okay, is this thing real? I've been singing about him on stages at churches all over the country. And now I'm questioning, like, what's the deal with that? Right. And so I had this moment, and I've talked about this a lot lately in my story where, um, so my mom is like my prayer warrior, got to call mama, got to have that real conversation with mama. Right. And so, I'll never forget, I was on this walk, and I still remember the walk. I was in this little trail that I walk on by my house, and just going, God, I love I love you, and I want to believe you're real because I feel like the only way, I'm in counseling, and I'm trying to do all this stuff to help myself mentally right now, but I don't see a way out. And I think the only way this works is if there is a higher power that exists that can help heal my mind. So I desperately want to know that you're real and you love me, and I really do feel like I believe it, but I just don't feel it at all right now. And I'm telling this to my mom on the phone while I'm having this dialogue with God. And she goes, well, lucky for you, Peter, faith isn't a feeling, it's a choice.
Mm.
And that, like, shattered my world in the best way possible, to go like, okay, all these things and these religious things that I'd kind of probably built up in my mind of what faith needs to look like, I went, wait, so even if I don't feel it and I have doubt and I'm questioning, I can still decide that I'm going to choose to believe that God loves me and is for me, because that actually gives me hope. And it was that moment that sounds so simple but was so profound in my life, to go, okay, like, this is the faith I'm going to stand on, that I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to choose to go, I believe scripture, I believe this Bible is holds all authority, and the words in this are true, and I'm going to choose it. And even when the doubts come, I'm still going to go, wow, they're there, but I'm going to choose that. And it was from that moment in my life, you know, 6 years ago or so, where, yes, I'd been a Christian my whole life, but it feel like my faith really became unlocked, in the sense of, like, okay, then I started to see God show up. I started to see mental clarity come to my mind. I started to see that, okay, there was this phrase that also really helped change me, because one of the things I was struggling with is, God, if you love me and you heal people, why won't you just heal my mind and get glory for it? And I can be like, I got this sweet testimony. Hey, God, you healed me of mental health. And I realized that God will either be glorified in your healing or your sustaining. And for me, my story is a sustaining story. So every day I wake up, I'm relying on God to get me from when I wake up to when I go to bed. And I get to lean on him and his strength. There's power in his power is made perfect in my weakness. And so all these things started to kind of just lock in place to where, now I'm mentally stronger than I've ever been before, but I've got a great story to tell, I feel like. And I have a lot of people that I know are struggling with really similar things to me, and I want to be able to help tell my story and let them know, like, hey, I get it, but God is real and he loves you and he's with you in the chaos. And I think the cool part is, like, some people have those testimonies where there is like an end cap to it, right? They no longer struggle. But for me, I'm going like, hey, no, I'm still in it. And every day I wake up, like, I'm gonna enter into a battle zone, and what thoughts am I gonna choose? Um, and how am I gonna lean into God? So all that to say, my faith story was really unique because I accepted Jesus technically, when I was 5 years old. I remember my siblings led me to Christ and I was choosing Jesus, but I don't feel like faith became so real and my own until maybe even like a little later on in life. I feel like I coasted through most of my life just kind of doing, that. But that being said, I'm really grateful for that story. And I'll end with saying this is like, um it's funny, I was talking to someone the other day, and for a while there was a really big season in my life where the mental health stuff was so bad it was causing so much pain in my life and even in relationships and stuff that I was really like, I wish I never it happened. And I just told someone this the other day. I said, I don't think God caused my mental illness. I think it's a reality of living in a fallen world and just dealing with sickness and things. But um, but he was with me in it, and if he turned it and used it to keep me close to him, I think it was worth it.
Totally.
Because because I think that if, and this is kind of a bold thing to say, and I don't know if it's 1,000% true, but I'm just a really open book. Like, there's a part of me that goes, if I didn't have that struggle and my life was really good, I'm not sure I would have stayed following Jesus as closely as I needed to. And so if he needed to use that to keep me close to him because of what he saw coming ahead in my life and what I was going to do in ministry and what he wanted to use me for, then so be it. I'm all about it. You know what I mean? And so that's a big part of my testimony is I'm just a broken person that's held together by, you know, the love of Jesus. And because of that, I'm stronger because I'm not leaning on my own strength. I'm leaning on his. And I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm a big work in progress right now, but you'll see this in my music, in the songs I'm writing right now. It's all music about my personal testimony. I mean, even the song I have on the radio right now called Where Would I Be? It's such a special song to me to be one of the first ones out of the gate in my artistry because it talks about the contrasting life, right, of being transformed. And I remember when we were writing the song, it was this idea of like, man, I feel like so often Satan wants to bring up our past to disqualify us from what we're doing, right? I feel like you probably even feel this way, especially in the influential role that you're in, and anyone who sits in a seat where they're actively doing ministry, Satan tries to go, yeah, but what about all these things you did and all these things, and like, what if you didn't have Jesus with you? And it was like, oh well, I've got a one-liner drop, like a mic drop moment for Satan. It's like, okay, well, thank God I'll never know because I do have Jesus.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
that's exactly it. I'm thinking about that as you're sharing your story and just, and like you're saying, the daily decision and the daily struggle of, okay, my mind has to be on God for me to take my next step today.
Yeah,
All throughout my day. I think of that scripture. He keeps in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on Him. I mean,
exactly.
that's it. It's like, and that could be part of it. Is like, man, I've got this great relationship I want with you. And yeah, you may struggle with this and as we all do,
Yeah.
But I want to give you peace, and I will give you peace when when we're in touch with each other and we commune with each other and we have the relationship with each other. And it's just like, man, okay, Lord. I mean, just download it to me. Just talk to me,
Yeah,
because every time I talk to the Lord, it's like it's better. It's better,
it is.
You're
Yeah.
you're able to and that flows through you as well.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And I think what's been
yeah,
interesting for me is like, um, my thing has been in that song, Where Would I Be? Especially, it's like whenever Satan tries to, remind you of what you've done, I get to remind Satan of what Jesus did.
yeah,
And that's my comeback to him. But then like so much in that song is like standing where I stand now, I almost can't believe it, like how good he's been to me.
yes,
And for me to sing that, and for you to be someone who's walked closely with me through the last 5 years, you'd be like, how is he singing that
yeah,
with what he, and it's like, because there's this beautiful picture
yeah,
within it. And what's so funny is, man, I talked about swim lessons with my daughter early, right, a second ago, is God has been teaching me so much through watching my daughter learn how to swim. And I had this like big epiphany yesterday. I was watching her in the pool, and she's struggling, but she needs to go through that struggle in the water with the instructor guiding her to grow her muscles so that she has the strength to hold herself up, so that she can go forward in life and be able to swim and enjoy the beautiful act of swimming, and going down water slides or what, all this stuff, right? And I'm just going like, this is a picture of sometimes what God does in our life. Like, we're struggling in the water and we're trying to keep our head, and he's right there like the instructor. Like, as soon as we're going to go under, like, that instructor grabs her and holds her up, but just enough so you can keep going. And it's like, well, why doesn't the instructor just hold her while she swims the whole time? Because then she's never going to grow enough to enjoy the act of swimming. So I feel like God's been showing me these things of like, hey, you're going to have to build resilience in your life in different ways. And some of those ways are going to be really difficult and hard. But, you know, I feel like that's that's what we all go through in life. So like if someone hearing this right now is going through a struggle, I almost want to remind them that like struggle leads to strength, in a really powerful, profound way in whatever aspect of your life. For me, it happened to be building mental resilience in my mind so that, as I walk into the season I'm walking into, I can mentally handle the things that God's throwing my way. For someone else, it could be, any type of situation. But I think that's the encouragement, and that's the beauty of the whole, power made perfect in the
yeah.
weakness thing. And so that's just been a big part of my life, and it's fun. I feel like God speaks to me really clearly through my daughter, my oldest daughter right now, and just seeing my relationship with her and ours with God. And so yeah, man,
I love that.
it's been a really cool season for me. And then this song, that I have out right now, telling a bit of my story. And as people get to hear more of my music, I've got a lot of music coming out right now. Um, and I'm really excited for it because it's my story in a bunch of songs. And I tried to. I feel like the lyric and melody put together to tell the gospel and our personal stories. There's something that's so powerful about that I feel really honored that I get to do that as an artist now. And it's really my hope that when people hear these songs, that their eyes are turned to Jesus and turn to hope, and that they can get encouraged by my own personal testimony,
That's
So
so good, man.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you just being vulnerable and honest, and because it allows us to get a little view of your soul, so to speak, and
Sure,
where
yeah,
you're
man.
coming from, in your music, and it's encouraging from that standpoint because there are so many people. We're so common in so many ways,
Yeah,
all of us, because we have the highs, we have the lows, and you're talking, I'm just like, man, there are so many scriptures that walk us through those various times in our lives where
yeah,
where it teaches us to hold our thoughts captive, take our thoughts captive, or how
yeah,
we're struggling, God gives us peace, or the testing of our faith produces endurance. We're building those spiritual muscles, like you were talking about with your
yeah,
daughter, man. It's like you can almost visualize God's just He's walking with us.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned in the last decade of battling this issue of right mental health, which is an epidemic in the world right now, and in the young people and Gen Z and everyone is like, because the world's just a more messed up place than it's ever
Mhm.
been, right? And that's a reality. But this is gonna sound really like simple, but counting my blessings
Yeah.
more than therapy and you know all the medical help or whatever is ever needed in anything. Well, the biggest thing that ever helped me get freedom from anxiety and panic stuff was this act of gratitude, because there's this actual scientific study that it's something like your brain cannot you cannot feel genuine gratitude and anxiety at the same time. Like your brain has to access different parts
Yes.
of your right. So this like simple, thing we've heard our whole lives in faith of like count your blessings. It's very incredible what that can do for your life if you actually wake up and go, "Oh, I'm thankful today that I can breathe. Like God put breath in my lungs." So, okay, well, not everyone gets that. I've got feet, I've got hands. Like I start really simple and go like, man, like I'm so thankful I've got that. I have a cup of coffee. I had the finances to pour a cup of coffee for myself. I've got, beautiful daughters and a wife. And you start listing these things, and all of a sudden your problems don't have room to be like, hey. And then what happens is that gratitude starts to build, and
Mhm.
then that actually shuts off the anxiety like in your mind, and it actually can have a physical, like you physically can feel less anxiety from practicing gratitude. And then
That's
I
great.
always say what's cool is that daily gratitude leads to freedom from that. And then ultimately what happens is that when you start listing all these things that you're thankful for that aren't guarantees, that they're really a gift, you start to realize how good God's been to you, even in the midst of whatever other issues you've got. And then that gratitude leads to praise. And then before you know it, like you're entering into God's
Mhm.
gates with thanksgiving,
Totally.
right? It's like, oh, scripture tells us that
Yeah.
as well. So that was really monumental for me too. So I would just encourage anyone who's hearing this as well to go, hey, if you struggle in any type of facet with what I'm talking about, just wake up every day and list 10 things you're super thankful for. I guarantee it will change your life. Guarantee it.
This is Rewrite Stories of New Life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite. That's REWRITE to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.